Hello guys, so today I have another Switch. I will try to repair it. I ordered it from Viapop. This is like online flea market in Spain, and this is a console. I've bought it for 50 euro as not working, not charging, not doing anything. So let's see it. You see in the analog stick, joystick doesn't have the rubber surface, but that's not a problem. The console itself, as I see physically, is more or less good condition, without cracks on plastic, without cracks on screen. So okay, let's try to charge it. Okay, so this is a blue screen. I heard it. So the blue screen is means that something wrong with processor or with its memory. I mean, with flash memory. So you saw that when I disconnected the charger, it was working for some seconds, for a few seconds. So this means that console is charging well, and the battery is alive. Okay, so this is a good sign. The bad sign that the seller said that console it doesn't charge. I prefer to buy things like laptops or consoles that doesn't charge, because it could mean that something wrong with it BQ charging IC or with capacitor, for example. My last repair, I will leave the link under this video. I repaired my first Switch Lite, just removing the capacitor, one small capacitor that was blow up because of water. And in this case, with this console, I see that that repair will be more difficult. You see the battery holding the charge. That's not a problem at all. I mean the battery, so it's charging AC, its charging lines is good. So nothing wrong with it. So from one side I'm lucky, because I will not replace the BQ chip, the charging IC, so the motherboard doesn't short it. So I think almost everything good with motherboard, but the processor or memory, this is a big problem. So the probability I can repair it is 20-30%, not more. But okay, let's disassemble the console. I ordered from AliExpress a screwdriver with many tips. I think these tips enough for doing everything. So it has the tips for Nintendo, it has the tips for iPhone, MacBook, the Phillips screws, everything you can use in your everyday repairs. So the first screw is the Phillips screw, so let's remove it. This one, the other one. This is a common process. I think maybe you know how to disassemble Nintendo, so you can watch the other part of video. If not, you can watch this video. So here we have the screwdriver for Nintendo, I mean the tip for Nintendo. So let's disassemble it. I'm a little bit upset because of this information about the processor, because the processors, this is difficult, this is complicated repair. So you need to unsolder the BGA chip and then reball it with special tools. I have these tools, but I don't want to replace the processor. In case of Nintendo, it's not profitable in matter of money, in matter of time. But okay, maybe the problem with something else, because I also read that the blue screen of this death, how this blue screen called by some repairmans. Uh, so this could be caused by error, just software error. But I don't believe it, because every time you see something like that, in 90%, this is a problem, the hardware problem. And in some cases, this is not repairable, because even if you will unsolder the chip, reball it, and then solder again, every time something could go wrong. You can short some contacts. Of course, you should measure it after repair, the characteristics of capacitors, of charging ICs, of processor, of main lines of motherboard, but this is a problem. Okay, so the plastic cover has been removed, and let's remove the radiator. Disassembling process is more or less simple. This is a common process. It just takes your time, but not a problem. You cannot repair something without disassembling it, right? So yeah, let's remove the other screws. Fortunately, it's pretty simple. If you want me to speed up the process, I mean to speed up the video, so just say this in comments, so leave your comment, and then in the next videos I will speed up the process. So for example, 2-3, I will make this 2-3-4-5 times faster. But if you want to see it's in with a normal speed, so just leave the comment that this is okay, this is not boring. As I see something wrong, somebody manipulated it, because the surface of processor radiator, processor cover is not flat. So the seller lied to me, because she said that this console was untouched. Okay, so of course this is a risky thing to buy something not working from flea market, from eBay, but I hope that this is true, that the console is untouched. She said that this is a console of her son, and the son doesn't know what happened. As we see, she knew what happened, and I think the console were in the hands of some technical service here in Spain. But okay. So I just disconnected the cables, disconnected the battery, to see what will happen if we will connect it again. So I read the comments in internet that sometimes it helps. When you disconnect the battery, the motherboard discharge it, the capacitors discharge it, and something could go, but not in my case. So definitely the problem is with hardware, not with software. This is not software error. This is not something fixable without disassembling the console. So okay, let's continue our disassembling process. So let's disconnect the battery again. Disassembling process usually, I mean the Nintendo Switch Lite, takes 10-15 minutes, no more than that. It's not boring, when you're disassembling something. For me, this is like a relax. So I'm relaxing to disassembling the devices. then I'm nervous sometimes when I am assembling it, when I'm repairing it, especially when something goes wrong. But from the beginning, this is a good relaxation. This is like a meditation. Somebody uses relaxation methods like Japanese gardens, bonsais. I'm using disassembling of devices. So now I will remove the cooler. It has a special screws. Okay, so the flex cable of the cooler. Be careful with those flex cables, they're pretty gentle. You should be as delicate as it's possible, because if you will broke something, you will need to repair it, or you will need to order it on AliExpress or on eBay, and this will cost you some more money, except the cost of your buying your purchase, like this console. So for example, if I will break the flex cable of this cooler, it will cost me more for 5-10 years more, because the cooler, it it has so gentle flex cable, so it can be repaired. So the game cards reader, let's remove it. The advantage of Nintendo Switch Lite is it's almost model system, so if you have some experience, you can disassemble it easily without any problems. So this is not a problem to disassemble, to remove the card reader, to remove the game reader. Yeah, so here are the moisture signatures. I think this is water. So yeah, we see the reason of problems with console. So I think from the beginning it was the water went inside the console, so it was the problem. Let's see. I don't like these types of problems, but because this is every day, this is a problem. You should replace the corroded lines, corroded contacts, corroded parts like capacitor, resistors, in worst cases the main chips, BQ chips, and of course sometimes water goes under the processor, under the soldered memory, and it corrodes its contacts. So you need at least reflow and as maximum reballing, no, as a maximum replacing the chip, because sometimes it's shorted because of water, and you need to, and the repair becomes very expensive. So in my case, for example, if I will be unable to repair the console, and the problem, and it will appear that the problem is with processor, it's shorted and something like that, so this is the end, because for me, I don't have an experience in replacing processors for Nintendos. For laptops, yes, I replaced it with success, but Nintendo, and I don't think that the processors for Nintendo is so cheap as some processors for cheap laptops, and I'm doubt that it will I will have some profit in time or in matter of money. So here I see some signs of flux. Definitely, this console was in the hands of some repairman, some technical specialists. So, okay, so the motherboard removed. From the other side, I don't see the problems. for now I just checking it without a microscope. But let's see what will I see then. So yeah, here is more or less good. You see, no signs of big amounts of water. Okay, so this is a motherboard of Nintendo Switch. Another one. I have one, I repaired. Yeah, and here from this side all looks good. But not from this side. Here you can see a lot of flux from one side. It's like flooded, the motherboard is flooded with flux. And let's see under the microscope. I'm confident that I will see some surprises. And yeah, and here is a surprise. Here is a flux. I think this chip was replaced because I don't see the reason why there is a lot of flux. It's flooded of flux, and I think it was replaced. The button is good, no signs of corrosion. The flux again. The connector for flex cable for Nintendo display, as I see, is in a good condition. But let's see what will happen next. Let's see the contacts. I'm confident that all good with these two connectors for touchscreen and for LCD because as I see, Nintendo works. I mean, it's LCD. I don't know about the touch, but LCD is working. About the touch, I'm not confident because I can try, because the Nintendo Switch just turns on, but without any software. I don't see interface, I don't see anything. So here is the parts in more or less in good condition, without any signs of flux. This chip, as I see, yeah, something. So here is good. Discolored component. I don't know if it's problem or not. Let's see. Here we don't have problems. Connector is in good condition. No signs of flux. Plastic is not corroded, is not melted, so it's pretty good. This is a metal radiator for processor. It's not flat. I think it was touched. We see the signs of flux. I don't know why. Maybe somebody tried to reflow the processor. So this chip looks good. And here we have flux flood again. It's a lot of flux. I don't know why this serviceman didn't clean the motherboard, but maybe it's good because we can see what he or she did with motherboard. Let's check the contacts. Okay, perfect. I don't see any problems. As I said before, so that I hope that I'm confident that connectors are good because the LCD turns on. And it turns on with solid blue color. Here and another connector with good contacts, no problems. I think it's untouched. a lot of flux. I don't know why we have such big amount of flux near the connector, because even for chip replacement, I mean not the processor, but for the common chips, you don't need such big amounts of flux. But fortunately, I don't see the signs of flux on a connector, so I can say that connectors are in good condition, so like brand new, you see, no problems with connectors. The contacts are gold, it's not corroded. Not gold, I mean the gold color. Yeah, it's brand new. Let's focus. But I can see without microscope that all good from the other side. From here, the working side, from the side of processor, let's see other parts. So this is a capacitor I replaced before on other light. It was shorted. Here also all good. Good. Capacitors not discolored, not cracked. All components are mint. This chip I see wasn't replaced because no signs of flux. No signs of flux. No. It seems that something wrong, but not. All clean. Brand new capacitors. And the connector. Let's check it. Maybe something wrong with it. As I see also it wasn't replaced. Let's see what's inside. It's a little bit dusty, dirty, but as I see, all good. No problems with connector. It's a little bit dirty. I will clean it later with isopropylic alcohol. In Spanish it's alcohol isopropílico. And here we have more capacitors. This chip, BQ chip, the charging chip, I think is untouched. I don't see the flux, or maybe a little bit, but as I see, the connectors are in a factory condition. And the capacitors without, here we have, this chip, I think were replaced or reflowed because I see the signs of flux. Maybe this is from factory, but I never saw such type of flux from the factory. Here we have the signs of manipulating with something. All good. Filters, all good. Connector is good. And I will remove and this chip is also replaced, and we see the signs of corrosion on that round contact. That I don't know what this component is, also was replaced because of big amounts of flux around it. But I hope it's all good, because the problem with blue screen is not the chips like this. The problem is processor or memory. But to be confident, I will check all parts of this poor motherboard. You see the solder. I see the part of solder. The man who manipulated with this board wasn't accurate. A lot of something like flux everywhere. This chip seems untouched. Here we have no problems. This is a processor. The metallic cover of processor. So I will remove it to see what happens with processor. Okay, first I will, yeah, here's the flux. I don't know why the flux is here. As I said before, maybe the processor was reflowed or reballed, but I has some doubts in it, because for processor you need a lot of flux. If we see such big amounts of flux around the common chips, so the processor will will be around it with a lot of flux. So removing the metal shield of processor, and let's see. I hope that the crystal itself is not cracked, doesn't scratch it. Let's focus on the processor. Okay. So the fresh thermopaste. So of course somebody tried to clean it, tried to replace, and this somebody didn't clean the factory thermopaste, but I will clean. Yeah, so the processor is in good condition. Here we have a small crack, but I don't see it's critical, but somebody definitely did something here. Somebody was here. But I don't see the signs of high temperature, like a yellow surface or some bubbles. This is worst if you see bubbles on the surface of processor. I mean not the crystal. Okay, so I just removed all thermopaste. I cleaned the processor. Now I glued the special metal foil, and I'm adding the flux around the processor. I will try to reflow it. I will use my air gun with temperature of 440 degrees and 40% of airflow. Also, you don't need a nozzle, so I'm removing the nozzle because it's more or less the size of it. It's like a size of processor. So, and reflowing means that you need to melt all the contacts around under the chip, and you can check it when you will gently touch the chip if it will move gently. I repeat, so the reflow process that all good with reflow process. Then you should measure the capacitors if it's not shorted around the processor. Yeah, so I'm touching it gently. I repeat, gently, not applied a lot of force. And when I see, yeah, so it's moving a little bit. So the reflow process is almost finished. I will add some flux. No, it was not moving. Sorry, it was not moving. I just adding some flux in the middle of the process, and now I will heat it up and will try to move a little bit the processor. This smoke is from the glue from the foil. It's not from the flux. A little bit smoke from the flux, but the most amount of this smoke is from foil, from its glue. Not moving, not moving, not moving yet. Hey, yes. It moves a little bit, and now the reflow process finished. Now we should wait a little bit for cooling the motherboard. So you see nothing missing, nothing broke, then you should remove the foil like this, and you see a lot of signs of glue from this foil, but it's not a problem because you can clean it up with your isopropylic alcohol. I'm using ultrasound bath, so it's size allowed to pour this motherboard and then clean it up. Yeah, so it's not so hot. We can clean it a little bit. If the process is successful, then I will clean the motherboard in ultrasound before assembling the console. So now let's clean up the carpet. Okay, so now is the time to assemble our console, and let's see. I'm crossing my fingers. I hope that the reflow process was successful. So let's install the motherboard in its place. I will not assemble it completely, just to check whether it turning on or not. The flexes should be on its places. The cables, Wi-Fi cables, the battery cable, the flex for backlight also should be in its place. And then we can put motherboard, yeah, inside. Now we should assemble to connect the flex cables. Here we have, so from LCD, from touch, from backlight, 3 flex cable. The flex cable, backlight flex cable, is situated near the battery. It's situated above the battery connector. Here is flex cables for LCD and for touch. So you know, almost all the screens for modern smartphones, touch screens for consoles for its touch screen. It's like a sandwich. The first layer of sandwich is touch screen, and the second is LCD itself. Okay, so almost all now. Yeah, the backlight flex. This is a backlight flex cable. If it's not connected, you will see anything on the screen. You can hear the sounds, and I'm assembled it. Let's check. Let's check, crossing the fingers, and let's check whether it works or not. Hope so, because otherwise I will not continue repair. I don't want to remove the processor, reball it, and then solder it again. So, okay, the button, the problem with it. And yes, the screen works, touch screen works, analog sticks, joysticks works, up, down, right, left, buttons, Wi-Fi. I already connected it. First I tested it off the video, and now I'm testing it functionality. So as I see, all good. And you cannot hear the sound because my video camera has a broken microphone, but believe me, it has a sound. So okay, the console fixed. You see the reflowing process is good. It's not permanent. It's not for like years, but I will use this console for myself. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. Please subscribe, push the ring, and goodbye.